Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be reviewing the new Ultra Le Tint Velvet Foundation recently launched by Chanel, and I'll be comparing it with the original Perfection Lumiere Velvet. This has been completely discontinued and replaced by the Ultra Le Tint Velvet. It's something that I addressed in my Chanel updates video, and I believe you can no longer find this both in store or online, so Perfection Lumiere Velvet is now completely gone. But here's the good part. The formula is supposed to be exactly the same. They simply changed the name. They're now calling it Ultra Le Tint Velvet. They changed the packaging slightly. The top you can see is a matte black, which signifies that this is a velvet formula, and for Chanel that means it's going to be a matte finish. That includes their lipsticks as well. And then they expanded the shade range, so they now added a couple different shades. Let me pull it up here. There's now a BD91, a BD121, BR32, and BR42. So the B is beige, BR is beige rose, and then BD is beige doré, which is going to be more of a golden or olivey undertone. So even with those additional shades, there are only 13 shades available, which is incredibly limiting considering the fact that this is a very popular formula, or at least it was when it was Perfection Lumiere Velvet. And I've heard people on both sides. There have been people who said, Erin, it's completely different. I used to like it, now I hate it, or I love it even more, but it doesn't feel the same. And then I've heard from a lot of people who say that they're just so happy that they just changed the name and they're just going about their business and using the foundation as if it were the old formula. So I was very curious to try it out. That's honestly why it's taken me so long to even acknowledge or review this foundation. When you visit Chanel.com, it's sort of interesting because under the new releases, you'll see new Ultra Le Tint Velvet as if they're launching a new foundation. But when you go in the Q&A, under the same product description, multiple times they explicitly say that it is the same exact formula. They simply changed the name and expanded the shade range. So it's a little bit confusing. Cosmetic production, like everything else in life, is not an exact science. So brands do their best to remain consistent with their products, but inconsistencies happen intentionally or not over the course of time. It's just something that happens. And even if formulas remain the same, our skin changes over time. So you may have a different opinion of this foundation versus the Perfection Lumiere. And there are so many factors that could play into it. So I don't want to play scientist. I'm not a chemist. I'm not going to take these different formulas and test them one against each other and try to see if there are different molecules. Ultimately, it doesn't really make a difference. The only thing that matters is, do you like this foundation? Does it work for your skin or not? If it does, then great, you have your foundation just like you did before. And if not, there were 300 foundations launched last month, so there will be something else on the market that I'm sure you will love just as much. I don't want anybody to get so hung up on particular ingredients. I know some people were pointing out that there was a difference in the ingredients list on the information pamphlet. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. The FDA does not regulate cosmetics the way they do food. So that is simply part of the luxury packaging. It's a courtesy from Chanel. Chanel as a brand is the one who is manufacturing these pamphlets. And I think it's more likely that they updated their pamphlet to include the new name and upgraded the ingredients list. It really does not tell us the exact moment or time in production when this ingredient change may have occurred. A situation I would compare it to would be going to your favorite Italian restaurant and ordering the chicken parmesan, and one chef makes it a specific way and you love it. You go the next night and it's slightly different. You still ordered chicken parmesan, it's still the same restaurant, but something about it doesn't taste exactly the same as it did the night before. Are they going to change the name on the menu and call it something other than chicken parmesan? Are they going to fire the chef? No, of course not. It's still the same dish. It just might be slightly different. It's obviously not a large enough change that Chanel is saying on their website and in their training materials that it's the same. Just something to keep in mind. So let's talk briefly about what this foundation is supposed to do. The Ultra Le Tint Velvet retails for $50, so it's the same price as Perfection Lumiere Velvet. It is said to have a sheer to medium coverage. Now, I have always considered this foundation to be more of a medium to full coverage, but it has such a thin texture, so if you really like a very natural, very light foundation, this is perfect for you. But if you're somebody who maybe has some sort of skin concern and you really love coverage, this could still work for you. Because it is a velvet, we know it has a matte finish, and I would consider this to be a true natural matte. It's not overly powdery, cakey matte. It's oil-free, has buildable coverage, soft focus blurring powders to smooth over pores and imperfections, and as I mentioned, it is still only available in 13 shades, which is truly what I find to be the most frustrating, controversial, upsetting thing about this new foundation launch. 13 shades is very limiting, and it is a truly beautiful formula. I wore this yesterday for the first time in a very long time. My initial thoughts were that it was just as amazing as I remembered it to be. I think it looks really pretty. I don't know if it's because I did apply it with my fingers, but this might be the most natural looking matte foundation that I have ever seen on my skin. What do you guys think? This is my 5-hour check-in. I've just been running some errands and just getting stuff done, and I know it's hard to find perfect lighting, but when I look up close, when I look in the mirror, I think it looks pretty good. It's lasted in this heat and humidity in Miami, so I'm gonna keep wearing this foundation for the rest of the day, but day one, looking good so far. Today I figured I would try something a little bit different. I wanted to see if I truly could detect any differences between the new Ultra Le Tint Velvet and the original Perfection Lumiere Velvet. Anytime I've swatched them on my hand, they feel the same, they smell the same, the color looks the same, so it wasn't something that I was incredibly eager to try, but I figured since I have them both on hand, I might as well just split my face right down the middle and see what happens. Looking up close in the mirror, I honestly cannot see any difference between the two. They've dried down exactly the same, the finish is the same. I would consider it to be maybe a luminous matte. Very smooth, very natural on both sides, the color's the same. I have now had both of these foundations on my face for the last several hours, and I feel the exact same way as I did when I initially applied them, which is that they are nearly identical, if not the exact same formula. I know there will be people who disagree and feel that it is different. I can obviously only speak from my experience and what I see when I look in the mirror, and when I look very close up, they don't even look close to the same formula, they just look the same. I cannot see one single difference, not in the finish, not in the texture. For me, the greatest discovery in trying this foundation has been remembering just how much I love this formula. This was actually my favorite foundation when I first started working at the Chanel counter in Nashville. Several years ago now, I would have to look back and count, but it's been a really long time, and I loved this foundation. It was my go-to. I wore it every single day. As soon as they discontinued Perfection Lumiere, this became my go-to foundation for clients as well, because it is so lightweight and thin, but still gives really good coverage, and it's still very natural. And because it's oil-free, it just suits so many different skin types. I will say that if you are incredibly dry or you like something hydrating, you like something anti-aging, this is not going to be the best Chanel foundation for you. You're better off using a Vita Lumiere, the Sublimage foundation, even a Vita Lumiere Aqua if you like a natural matte finish. This is going to be really great for anybody who's getting introduced to Chanel foundations, if you have any sort of oil on your skin, or you just like something that's very thin with coverage. This would be beautiful for you. That is truly the thing that I love most about the Ultra Le Tint Velvet, is that it does give you good coverage, but it's still so lightweight. And several years ago, I really needed a matte foundation because I had a lot more oil to my skin. Now that my skin has dried out a little bit more, I don't need to always have a matte foundation. In fact, now I tend to lean towards more dewy, more luminous foundations. So I'll be really excited to play around with this, kind of mix in beauty oils, mix in liquid illuminators. But even by itself, I never felt like it was too powdery matte on my skin or drying. I just think that if you are dry or normal to dry, you like hydration, this may not be great for you. I will conclude today's video with my humble opinion. I think if you loved the Perfection Lumiere Velvet, you will be just as happy with the Ultra Le Tint Velvet. If not, if you think it's changed, if you're not so sure, try a sample, give it a shot. I really don't think you'll be disappointed. And if by chance you feel like it is different, you might just need to try a new application technique. Use your fingers, try a different primer. You might find that you just don't love a matte foundation anymore and you need to try something else. But if you love matte, if you love full coverage, if you like something that is very lightweight, you will be really happy with this. And that completes today's video. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, leave me any of your comments or your questions down below. I am very curious to hear your thoughts on this foundation, what your experience has been. So drop me a comment so we can keep the conversation going there. As always, I will be linking all of the products mentioned, everything that I used today on my face, down below in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.